Hi guys, welcome back. My name is Amanda. For those of you that are new to the channel, for those of you who've been here before, g'day, and let's get going. To the friends and family watching, hi as well. So we're going to get on to today's task. It is an oat day today because I'm putting away all of the dry stores, and that includes my boxes of oats, which I am splitting out of their bags. So while I'm splitting them up and putting one jar away into the pantry, I think it's a perfect time for me to make my oat milk, which I then make sweetened condensed oat milk out of that. I then use the leftover oats to make Anzac biscuits because all of those three ingredients I need for other meals throughout the week as well. So not letting anything go to waste today. And while I'm putting away the grains into the preservation area downstairs, let's go on and make a few little bits and pieces. And I also have got some pressure canning to do later today as well, but that will be a separate video. This one is just going to be all on the oats. So come along with me. Let's have some fun. So it all begins with just 1 cup of oats. Let's go. 1 cup of oats into the blender, and I'm just going to pack away my remaining oats, and I cut up my package with the name of the oats and into the jar. That goes as well for reference later on, okay? Radio, I need 600 mils or 3 cups of ice cold water. The colder the water, the better. You can even pop in a couple of ice cubes if you like. The purpose is we are wanting to get out as much liquid from the oats, but we don't want it to go slimy. And when we use the high-powered blenders, they get hot, and heat is your enemy when you are making oat milk. So let's keep it really cold. Radio. Onto the extract setting that I've got with this blender. Otherwise, you will be pulsing your blenders so that, again, it doesn't get too hot. And you continue to mix your milk until it is very, very fine, which is why I use the extract setting on the NutriBlender. It makes it a lot easier. Just press a button and just let it do its thing. It will pulse 3 times. First time, not too long. Second time, even longer. Third time, it's a good 10-second burst. And then it is done. And we can move on to the next part, which will be straining and separating our pulp from what will be our milk. So years ago, I bought these bags called nut bags. I'm not even sure if they still exist or not. I will need to do a search and see, but they're finer than a cheesecloth. So I've got cheesecloth, and you can use cheesecloth if you don't have a nut bag, but the nut bag is a lot finer, and I just find it easier. But that being said, you know, whatever you've got is perfectly fine. If I didn't have nut bags, I would have been using cheesecloth like I used to do in the past. But it's much finer, and it makes it easier for me to use it. It's as simple as that, and I happen to have them. I was making cheeses at the time, and we were straining the curds and squeezing it through, so I ended up with the cheese bags, and they work perfectly. But what I did learn my lesson is, because of the seams, turn them inside out, and then your products won't get caught in the seams, making it harder to clean them. Just a little tip. Rightio, time to get ourselves a large jar. And we are going to put the bag in it just like we do when we do an icing bag, just to sit it in there so that we've got free hands, and we're going to pour into the jar the milk. That's easy. This is exactly the same method we do if we were making a nut milk, for example, like an almond milk. Now, oat milk is about $4 a litre. I will find out how much it cost me for 1 cup of my oats and just do a comparison. I know it is way, way less, but still, I will put that up as well. And all I'm doing is I'm simply pouring all of the milk that we have just blended up in the blender, and we're just pouring it straight into our nut bag. And I'm going to just let that drain away, and then I'm going to literally milk it. No different how I milk the goats, exactly the same mechanism, I guess, the same movement I do with the bag instead, and just strain out as much of the liquid without squeezing any of the pulp, because that will make our nut milk, or in this case the oat milk, really slimy, which isn't pleasant. So just giving it a good twist and gently squeezing out all of the liquid from the bag. Just bringing the bag out of the lip of the jar. It really helps if you've got a wide mouth jar also, and I'm just going to continue to squeeze this out until I've got all the liquid out, and I'm just left with a little bit of the pulp is all that ends up remaining. And we are pretty much done. I'm just going to remove the bag, and you can see how much I've got left. Not an awful lot. Most of that now is being squeezed out. Like I said, just the same method that I use when I milk the goats. Alrighty, let's have a look-see and see how much milk we ended up with. Not bad. How nice does that look? Beautiful and white and creamy. Alrighty, and not slimy. Onto the sweetened condensed oat milk. We begin with 40 grams of unsalted butter. We add 500 mils of the oat milk that we've just made, and then we have our maple syrup as well. If you're measuring it on the scales, you're looking for about 180 grams, which is just under 1 cup of maple syrup. Alrighty, into the saucepan that all goes, and then onto the stove we go. And we are going to be bringing this up to a really nice rolling boil, and then pretty much it is done. Alrighty, so onto the stove, we are just going to continue to mix this as this warms up because we don't want any of that maple syrup sticking, but we are going to be caramelizing that milk and maple syrup together to form the sweetened condensed milk until it's nice and thick is what we want, but it will thicken up more also as it cools down. So what I usually do is I get it to the point that it's at a rolling boil and I can't knock down the bubbles any longer, and that's usually when I turn it off because I don't want it to burn at all and I don't want that to over caramelize either and get too thick. So this is about the time that I switch it off, and then once it's cooled down a little bit, I'll just put it into a container into the fridge, and that job is done also. I'm going to be using that later on, so I do need to chill it down before I can use it, but it does make a lovely rich thick condensed milk, and it's dairy free. Perfect. Alrighty, let's move on to making some Anzac biscuits. Alrighty, so I've just got a cookie tray, I've lined it, and I'm just going to roll my little balls and pop them onto the tray. I do 3, and then I do 4 rows of 3. That gives me enough space to flatten them out afterwards. I also flatten them out as soon as they come out of the oven as well, just to make sure they're extra crispy. Just a bit of a simple little tip to give them a bit of a squish down. And that way, as they cool, because you can't touch Anzac biscuits when they're hot, we need to wait for them to be totally cooled down. So while they are cooling, perfect opportunity to give them a squish once again. Just use your palm of your hand to give them a flatten out, simple, and then they are ready to go into the oven. Like I said, just leave enough space for them to spread because that bicarb will cause them to spread. For those of you who have not made Anzac biscuits in the past, my goodness, you really should because they are amazing and definitely an iconic biscuit here in Australia. Into the oven we go at 180 degrees or 350 Fahrenheit for 10 to 15 minutes. Just keep an eye on them until they're nice and golden brown. Alrighty, so here's the first tray out of the oven, and like I said, they are really hot, and I have flattened them out with that spatula once again, just so they stay as they cool nice and flat. We definitely don't like raised up Anzac cookies. We like them short, squat, and delightfully crunchy. So that's what we do. Well, that's what I do. It's the same way I've always made them. And like I said, I have made mine a little bit larger than normal, but you know, that's okay. They're Anzac biscuits. Rightio, onto a rack, and they will cool nicely and be nice and golden and crunchy. You cannot put these guys into a biscuit tin or away while they have got any heat in them because they will just go soggy straight away. So unfortunately, we've just got to let them cool down, and it doesn't take that long. Alrighty, pop this tray aside. Here's the second tray out as well, and they are also just as golden. And yeah, I've used coconut, which isn't quite seen these days. A lot of the times I've had Anzac biscuits and they're made with brown sugar instead of using the golden syrup, and they don't have any coconut in them. But my recipe book goes back to the 1970s, and it is the only way that I knew how we ate Anzac biscuits growing up. But tell me, do you put coconut in your Anzac biscuits, or is that not a done thing? I don't know, but it is for us. Alrighty, so next tray, I'm going to flatten them out just to be sure because I like them extra crunchy, and we're just going to let them cool as well. Simple. So let's take a look at our Anzac biscuits. Yep, they are really, really thin, golden on both sides. Just a typical, beautiful Anzac cookie. So definitely adding the extra pulp, I find when I've ever made them, because I've done this repeatedly now, I find it just makes the crispiest little cookies. Now I'm going to use my Anzac tin, okay, as you do. It is just a cookie tin. It's one of the commemorative tins from way back in 2012. Alrighty, so I am going to use my tin, and a really good way to make sure your cookies do not go all soft is to put in some paper towel into the bottom of your cookie tin, then add your greaseproof paper and put your very cold now cookies, no warmth at all. If they are warm, they will just go soft again, which we don't want. We've gone to the effort of making them lovely and crunchy. We want them to stay crunchy. So let's pop them into the tin. and we will then pop them away. They will not last very long because my grandson is on his way over with my daughter, and no doubt this tin will be heading off to their place by the end of the day. I'm going to save a few cookies of the bigger ones that I made, just half a dozen of them, and they will be perfect with the oat milk that I've made as well. So that's going to be my morning tea snack as well. I've just got some bread that's just sitting above there, it's ready to go into the oven as well. So pretty much by whatever time it is, it's early still this morning. Let's just check. Yep, not even 9 o'clock yet. All I gotta do is pop that bread into the oven and my day is done. All right, thanks very much for joining me today, guys. And that was all about oats. 3 very quick projects done today, and I can move on to the rest of the day's jobs. Lots more to come. Thanks very much, guys. Bye now.